artists, musicians, writers, and entrepreneurs, my fellow dreamers, makers, and creators. Today, I want to speak directly to the lonely artist, the one who paints with heartbreak, writes through uncertainty, and sings into the silence of their home studio. Society tells you that working alone means you're broken, antisocial, or you're missing out. But I spent the last few years studying the creative habits of artists across every creative domain, and here's what I discovered. The loneliest artists oftentimes create the most connected art in the world. If you're creating alone right now, this message is for you because what I learned from these solitary creators will completely transform how you see your own isolation. Let's dive right in. So, the first thing I want you to understand is this: loneliness is not your enemy, it's your training ground. You see, artists walk a unique road. Most people in this world travel the highways of routine and comfort, but you took the unpaved road, the one with no GPS. And that's what makes creativity a very lonely path. On this path, you feel deeply, you think differently, you see what others overlook. And that's not a flaw, that's your gift. And that gift comes with the weight of solitude and silence. Most people think that loneliness is something to fix and to escape from, but the greatest artists I studied didn't run from their solitude. They used it to create with. Banksy created murals in complete solitude, working through the night while the world slept. The isolation is a part of his art. Elena Ferrante, one of today's most celebrated writers, was anonymous for decades, writing in total isolation, no interviews, public appearances, just pure creation. And Van Gogh painted his most famous works in complete solitude. He even wrote to his brother one time saying that he often thinks that the night is more alive and more rich than the day. Here's what they understood that most artists don't. It's that loneliness is not empty, it's concentrated feeling. It's emotion under pressure, and pressure creates diamonds. So don't confuse being unseen with being unworthy. Remember this: a seed grows underground long before it sees the sun. So if there's a nagging voice in your mind whispering, "Who do you think you are?" I'll tell you who you are. You're someone brave enough to translate raw emotion into physical form. Someone who risks vulnerability in a world where everyone stays on the surface. You're someone whose work dares to be true to you, and that, my friend, is the mark of someone real. When you're alone with your thoughts, with your pain, with your wonder, that's when you touch something that everyone else is too distracted to feel. Your loneliness is your antenna to a frequency most people can't hear. But here's the paradox. Oftentimes, the more alone you feel, the more you're actually connected to everyone. Because loneliness is the most universal human experience. We all feel it. We all carry it. Most people are too afraid to name it, to sit with it, and to create from it. When you make art from your loneliness, you're not just expressing your experience, you're giving voice to the silent ache that lives in all of us. Think about the songs that saved you, the paintings that stopped you in your tracks, the poems that felt like they were written just for you. I guarantee that many of them came from someone who felt completely alone when they made them. This is why your isolation is sacred. It's where the real work happens. But I know what you're thinking. If my loneliness is so valuable, why does it hurt so much? It's because as an artist, when you're deep in your creative process, you're not just a little lonely. You feel the weight of the world because you're building a vision that's invisible to everyone else. And in art, progress is often indistinguishable from failure. You only know it was worth it in hindsight. It's like the novelist writing a chapter that might never be included in their final draft, or the singer that's re recording the same line 50 times. or the painter layering white over a face that took them 2 weeks just to paint it all wrong. These moments don't look like progress when you're in it, but they are. Loneliness will tempt you to drift, to give up, but don't. Stick to your work, set your hours, and along this journey, remember to do two things. First, feed your spirit before you feed the world. Because artists give so much, but you can't pour from an empty cup. So read, listen, walk, sit in nature. Surround yourself with beauty so that beauty can flow through you. Secondly, and this is important, you can embrace solitude without being alone if you seek fellowship, not fame. In the book, The Artist Way, Julia talks about the single most important factor for an artist is something she called a believing mirror. On page 219, she says, put simply, a believing mirror is a friend to your creativity. Someone who believes in you and your creativity. As artists, we can consciously build what I call creative clusters, a sacred circle of believing mirrors to potentiate each other's growth, to mirror a yes to each other's creativity. In my experience, we can benefit greatly from the support of others who share our dreams of living a fuller life. So don't chase applause. Find alignment. Find your believing mirrors. Seek out other artists. They don't have to like your work, but they'll understand your soul. They'll understand your necessary moments of distance. Fame is fickle, but a single conversation with someone who gets it, that's gold. That's how you find balance. In the book Keep Going, on page 39, he says, creativity is about connection. You must be connected to others in order to be inspired and share your own work. But it's also about disconnection. You must retreat from the world long enough to think, practice your art, and bring forth something worth sharing with others. You must play a little hide and seek in order to produce something worth being found. There's also another quote that I want to share with you from Da Vinci in my notes. But first, if you're a painter, singer, writer, or a creator in any domain, if you want access to all my best notes on creativity, put the link I put in the description of this video or visit worldofcreators.com and tell me where you want me to email them. Okay, now here's what Da Vinci has to say about all of this. He said the painter must be in solitary, for if you are alone, you are completely yourself. But if you are accompanied by a single companion, you are half yourself. So at the end of the day, let solitary refine you, not define you. Because what Da Vinci was suggesting is that when no one's watching, you are free. Free to fumble, free to explore, free to create. And that's when your creativity can run untamed. Mozart once said, when I am completely myself, entirely alone, or during the night when I can't sleep, it is on such occasions that my best ideas flow abundantly. Solitude is where your voice matters, where your style sharpens, but don't let it trick you into thinking you're alone in the world. You're not. You're just in rehearsal. And when it's time, when your work is ready, the world will be there to listen. But right now, though, what I'm about to say next might be hard to hear. This loneliness isn't a phase that you're trying to get out of. It's a part of the deal that you made by being an artist. Loneliness does not mean you're lost. Loneliness is just a path of the creative unpaved road. If you could see the whole map, you'd understand why this point on this path that you're on looks like the middle of nowhere. But it just means that you're not there yet. It means that you might be early or ahead of your time. And yes, that's infuriating, but it's also empowering because it means that you are not lost, you're not behind, you're on the way of bringing your vision to life. Keep going, not because you know it'll work, but because I know that you're here, because something in you still wants to find out. That impulse you feel, that voice in you, that quiet, defiant whisper telling you to keep creating even when the world is silent, that is the truest thing that you have. That is your creative potential begging to be unleashed. Trust it. Because creating is a noble act. You are not just making things, you are taking a step back from society to give the rest of us insights from a bird's eye view. You are reminding humanity how to feel. You are capturing what others rush past. You are putting colors on emotions. You are turning silence into music. You are giving voice to the unspoken. And for that, yes, sometimes the cost is solitude. In Create or Die on page 156, it says, John Gould, the editor that Stephen King apprenticed under, shared a key piece of advice about writing that bleeds into creativity as a whole. He said, write with the door closed, rewrite with the door open. When you create an idea, it starts off being solely you. The journey starts off lonesome. Once you deem the work as complete, the idea belongs to anyone who wants to love it or criticize it. The duality of creating in solitude and the power of releasing it into the world is one I see over and over again in my notes. Thelonious Monk spent long, quiet hours at the piano, developing his style far from the spotlight. Yet those jagged, elegant lines became fundamental to the language of jazz. Kehinde Wiley paints for hours in complete silence, transforming his studio solitude into portraits that redefine how we see power and beauty. Billie Eilish, with her brother Phineas in a bedroom studio, whispered into a mic, and that whisper became the song Ocean Eyes, a roar for a generation. The poet Rupi Kaur writes in solitude to give a voice to experience that millions of women carry but couldn't express. So remember this: you must keep creating, especially when it feels pointless, especially when no one is watching, especially when you wonder if it matters. Because somewhere, someone is going to discover your work at exactly the moment that they needed to feel less alone. Someone's going to hear your song on the worst day of their life and realize that they're not the only one who feels that way. Someone is going to see your painting and understand something about themselves that they couldn't see before. Someone is going to read your words and think, this person sees me. Look, an artist's loneliness is not their burden, it's their gift to the world. So paint, write, dance, sculpt, sing, create, because one day the world will look back on what you did in the shadows and call it light. Don't run from it, honor it. Whatever you're out there creating right now, all I have to say is thank you.